This is lesson 2.16, writing equations of perpendicular lines. So if you haven't watched parallel lines, make sure you go back and do that one. Perpendicular lines, the steps are exactly the same, but it's a little bit harder because we have to change the slope. Remember, perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes, and that means we change the sign of the slope and flip the fraction. So let's go ahead and start. I'm abbreviating perpendicular in all of these as perp. I know it's funny, but it's less writing and it takes up less room. So I have y equals 3x plus 7 and negative 3 comma 0. So I want a line that's perpendicular to the line y equals negative 3x plus 7 and goes through the point negative 3, 0. So we're, of course, going to copy the problem. And then we're going to find new slope. So we have to change the sign and flip the fraction. So we know it's going to be positive. And if I make 3 a fraction, it's going to be 3 over 1. So when I flip it, it's now going to be positive 1/3 is our new slope. Okay? Then, as always, we're going to write the form. We found the slope. Now we're writing the form, which is y equals mx plus b. Then we're plugging in, and we're using this point, which is an x and a y, and we're using this slope. So when we do that, we end up with 0 equals 1/3 times negative 3 plus b. Okay, if we come up here, we have 1/3 times negative 3 over 1, which becomes negative 3 over 3, which is negative 1. So we're solving for b. So when we do that, we get 0 equals negative 1 plus b. Add 1 to both sides, and we get 1 equals b. So then we have slope intercept, which is y equals, and then we use our 1/3 x slope plus 1. So it's the same amount of steps as parallel. The only thing we have to remember is to change and flip that slope. Okay, that's what we have to remember. So let's go ahead to the next one. Here we have 3x, so we know we want perpendicular. We have 3x plus 5y equals 7, and we have this 0.62. So copy problem. So we can't determine the new slope until we solve for y. So we have to do that first. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides, so I get 5y equals negative 3x plus 7. And I'm going to divide by 5. So I get y equals negative 3/5 x plus 7/5. Remember that y-intercept doesn't matter. We're going to find our new slope. So new slope, which is we need to do opposite. So it's going to be positive and flip the fraction. So it's going to be 5/3. Okay. Then we're going to write form. And we get y equals mx plus b. And then we're going to plug in. Remember, we're going to use that point and the slope. So we get 2 equals 5/3 times 6 plus b. When we do this, we get 5 over 3 times 6 over 1, which is 30 over 3, which is 10. So we are solving for b. So this is 2 equals 10 plus b. Subtract 10 from both sides, and we get negative 8 equals b. And last but not least, slope intercept. So we get y equals 5/3 x minus 8. So that's the hardest it's going to get. That one you have to solve for y, and then you have to do the perpendicular. Okay, so let's do one more of those types. So we have perpendicular, of course. 6x minus 3y equals 5, and 0, negative 4. We are, of course, going to copy the problem, and then we're going to solve for y. So we go subtract 6x from both sides, negative 3 y equals negative 6x plus 5. Divide by negative 3. We get y equals negative 6 divided by negative 3 is positive 2x minus 5/3. We're going to write our new slope. So remember we have m equals, we're going to change the sign to a negative. If we make 2 a fraction, it'd be 2 over 1. If we flip that, it'd be negative 1/2. And then the form. And then plug in. And remember we're using this and x and y. So we have negative 4 equals negative 1/2 times 0 plus b. We now are going to solve for b. So we know that anything times 0 is 0 plus b. So we get negative 4 equals b. Last but not least, that lovely slope intercept, which becomes y equals negative 1/2 x minus 4. Okay, and then we're going to do parallel and perpendicular, horizontal and vertical. We're already doing parallel and perpendicular. So we want perpendicular to y equals 3 and negative 2 comma 4. So here's the thing. We know that this is a 0 slope. Okay, I forgot to write copy the problem, sorry. These ones I don't really have a whole lot of steps because they're kind of weird. So we know that that one is a 0 slope. So remember, that fraction looks like something like this. To flip that, that would be 2 over 0. Remember, that's saying I have 0 pieces of pizza and I eat 2, which doesn't make sense. So that would be undefined. So we're going to use VUX, okay, because of an undefined slope. And that equation says we have x equals, and we're going to look at the x coordinate. So that would be this lovely thing right here, negative 2. So a line perpendicular to a horizontal line is a vertical line at negative 2. For example, y equals 3 would go this way. And we know that it has to make a 90 degree. So we go x equals negative 2 this way. Okay. Let's do one more. This time we're going to go the other way. So I have perpendicular. X equals negative 4. And goes through 7, 6. We're going to copy. Okay. We're going to find new slope. So in this case, this is undefined. So the opposite of undefined is 0. That means we're going to use HOI, which means we are going to start with y equals. We're going to look at y coordinate. So I get y equals, and our y coordinate is 6, so y equals 6. And that is our line that's perpendicular to a vertical line. Please make sure, okay, please make sure that you go through and you look at the other examples. There's one more example for 2.16 if you need it. Also, please make sure you practice. If you have questions, please come see me. It's super important that you get this down and you don't just say, oh yeah, I've got it, because remember, I'm walking you through it.